All hail Bran the Broken, King of the Yandles and the Rhoynar, MacGuffin incarnate, epic subversion of expectations, keeper of plot conveniences, inadequately recognized destroyer of King's Landing, and breaker of internal logic. Long may he reign. Hey guys, Fantasy Fan Dan here. Thanks for clicking on the video. Today I'm going to be briefly going over all of Season 8, episode by episode, and clearly laying out my gripes and my compliments. Sparse though the latter may be. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the season. With that, let's get into it. Episodes 1 and 2. I'm going to be looking at these episodes together because they were really similar, and also because they really should have been a single episode given how short the season was. What do I think of them though? Well, these episodes wouldn't be that bad if they were in the context of a Season 8 that was done right, or, better yet, a part of a Season 8 that was to be followed by a Season 9. Not to say that Season 8 wasn't amazing and the perfect ending, but maybe if the writers weren't offered that succulent Star Wars money, things could have been a little bit different for the better. Okay, obligatory shitting on the writers out of the way, we can actually get into it. Episodes 1 and 2 were definitely necessary, and at times, really great, because of how they displayed some memorable character-building moments, like Jaime knighting Brienne, Jon telling Dany about his identity, Davos talking to the girl who looked for herself against the Dragon Queen, and Bran discovering that he was forgotten in the snowy courtyard, which was, of course, symbolic of how internal logic was forgotten by the writing staff. Plus, there were some fantastic character reunions that I know everyone was really hyped for, like Arya and Jon, Sansa and Theon, and of course, Jaime and Bran, cutest couple 2019. Not to mention it gave us an insider look at how the much-lauded battle plans for Episode 3 were developed. But I don't think I'm alone in saying that at least 50% of the content of these episodes was filler. Filler! In a 6-episode season, they had fucking filler! Granted, it was high-quality filler, but so was half of Perrin's story arc in Wheel of Time, and I think we can all agree that we had enough of that after about a chapter or two. I could get into each individual one of the filler scenes that they had, but I think it would be a bit on the dry side, and I also don't really want to add like an extra hour to the video, so just know that there were a lot of them. On a more serious note though, it does feel like both episodes served their purpose, and given the time constraints for the season, it might have been better if they just left the important bits and cut off the fluff to make room for events that we wanted to see but didn't. Scenes like Jon crossing blades with the Night King. Instead, what we got was Arya giving Gendry the very complicated plans for a spear. Ooh. But alas, there are still 4 other episodes that we need to slog our way through. May as well get to it. Episode 3. Now that was a wild ride. Actually, it was more like one of those water luge rides where like there's a slow build up to a huge drop. Just take away the build up and stretch the drop out for like an hour and a half. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this episode was more of a mass snuff film than it was a battle, because I don't think I've ever seen such a one-sided slaughter on television before. Unfortunately though, everyone I talk or listen to is completely united in deciding that if the episode were a variety of toilet paper for say, it would be of the used variety, but I gotta say, people like that are kind of missing the mark. Yeah, the way the Night King died was kind of lame, and I definitely agree that they could have handled Bran a lot better and given him something cool to do as well. By the way, shameless plug, if you want to listen to a version of the episode where those problems are fixed, check the link in the description for my retelling of the episode where Bran actually has some importance. Anyways, though, I hear the criticisms of the episode, and I understand them. I really do. I understand that Thrones fans were proverbially riding in the streets over literally 30 seconds of footage. Granted, it wasn't important 30 seconds, but there's an entire 89 minutes and 30 seconds that you're not talking about. That everyone, including your favorite YouTubers, conveniently ignore so that they can give the hot take that the episode was whack. Well, sorry, the episode wasn't whack. There was a tough 30-second stretch at the end, I'll give you that, and that did spoil a lot of the plot lines that the show had been setting up for the sake of epic subversion, but that's more of a series problem than an episode problem, and if you're looking at the episode itself as a contained unit, that was amazing. But Dan, what about the battle plan? It didn't make any sense. It totally ruined it for me. Yes. That's a fair point, and I know you probably won't like what I'm about to say, but you have to hear it. It's called theatrics. If you want to play the stickler for the logic game, then what you should really be asking is, why did Cersei secure a loan to hire the Golden Company when she just could have hired a faceless man to kill Dany and whoever else she thought she had to? Or even, Why didn't Dany just hire a faceless man to kill Cersei, rather than wasting time, money, and lives attacking her head on? If Dany had hired a faceless man, Cersei would be dead, and her entire plot in Season 7 could have been scrapped. When it comes down to it, a lot of this show, post-Season 5, makes very little sense. Just ask questions about things that matter, and you'll be a lot better off. Questions like, did Grey Worm lose it all, or just the balls? You know what I mean. So, yes, the battle plan wasn't super logical, but it wasn't the first time that the writers had to compromise in-world logic for some cool shots and a better story, and boy, did we get some of those cool shots in this episode. The Dothraki blades snuffing out one after another, the initial clash between the Unsullied and the Undead, the picturesque image of the three dragons rising above the clouds in the moonlight. Absolutely beautiful. And that's not even mentioning, of course, that, had the Living had a proper battle plan, the result would not have been at all different. Really, think about it, guys. If your side number's like 10,000 max and the enemy has 1,000,000 plus, chances are it's not really going to matter where you put the fucking trebuchets. Nor will it matter how you position the eunuchs or however many volleys the archers launch. Everyone's going to die anyways. The end. The whole battle plan nonsense that everyone goes on and on about is nothing but a nitpick that distracts from the true focus of the episode, the slaughter of the living. I mean, what better way to frame a fight against death itself than as a terrifying spectacle where the conclusion is inevitable, just like in real life? Sure, everyone likes a good battle scene, but this wasn't a battle. You don't do battle against death, you resist. You resist and you resist and resist until the light fades from your eyes and you fall down lifeless. The battle against the dead reminded me a lot about the rage of Achilles in the Iliad. You rage against the dying of the light, even though you can never win. And episode 3, to me, captured that feeling excellently, and because of that, it was fantastic. Episode 4. I like to think of episode 4 as a fun mixie that everyone should enjoy. Here's how you can prepare your own. Add 1 part Nordic mead hall, 2 parts chiseled pirate nihilist with a very horny penchant for queens, and a dash of forbidden love drama. Be sure to thoroughly mix into an even blend. Then, and this is where you have to be careful, pour it into your finest pot and piss on it. Piss on everyone who helped you make it, and tell everyone who is watching you to go fuck themselves, bottle it, and serve chill after 2 years of letting the hype build. Enjoy. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I'm not a fan of episode 4. It's easily the worst episode in the entire TV show, and its mere existence is an affront to Thrones fans everywhere. The episode peaks during the first 30 minutes when you watch the surviving heroes celebrate their improbable victory. It's a heartwarming scene with plenty of humor mixed in, and though it drags on a little bit at times, it's certainly quite far from bad. After that, though, the writers' alter egos took over, and everything went downhill pretty quick. The next major sequence sees our favorite horny swashbuckler and his delightful pals and crew doing their best Jeremy Renner impersonation, and from behind the ballista, shooting an amazing 3 for 3 at a moving target while on a moving platform themselves, and from at least half a mile away. Not an easy feat. But that's just an average day for Euron, Chef Curry Greyjoy. He doesn't stop there, though. No. Taking down a dragon is not enough for him. Instead, he goes trawling for survivors, just in case someone important not only survived the shipwreck, but also didn't make it to shore with literally every other single survivor. And, as luck would have it, which so often happens in seasons 7 and 8, he made the right choice. He pulls Missandei out of the water and secures his hostage that I guess they needed for whatever reason. I don't think I really need to explain why both of these choices were quite unfortunate for both the episode and the show as a whole, but I will anyways because I love ranting about how dumb it is that for this one episode only, Ballistae are essentially Dragon DDT. That's a Silent Spring reference for all you guys watching at home. Shout out to Rachel Carson. Anyways, though, if you remember back in Season 7, Bronn was absolutely hopeless shooting at Drogon until he was, like, under 100 yards away and flying straight at him. And then when he hit him, the wound was so shallow that Dany was able to pull the bolt free with a few good tugs. Why create consistency and write Rhaegal's death in a similar manner when you can create an epic subversion? Why should Rhaegal die while charging the enemy in a logical yet devastating and also badass fashion when you could have Euron get him with his dope dragon fly swatter? Duh. Later, the episode stays true to its toilet flushing inspiration and continues to spiral down the drain with its final scene. I am of course referring to the iconic showdown between Dany and Cersei, where Dany offers Cersei one last chance at a peaceful solution to the conflict, and which concludes with the unceremonious, and I do not say that lightly, execution of Missandei, a close friend and advisor to Dany, as well as a lover to Grey Worm, somehow. Again, the important questions have to be asked. Anyways, this scene is obviously meant to serve as a key building block of Dany's turn to madness, and in that regard, it's probably meant to be seen as the straw that broke the camel's back. The only issue with this, though, is that it was like the third straw to fall on her back. Maybe the fourth, depending on what you qualify as a straw. I mean, what do we really have? There's Jorah's death, and there's also the North not loving her like she's used to. I mean, it wasn't really a rejection, it was really just them not declaring her their mother. I don't know, maybe she got a little bit too used to that. Anyways though, these few combination of events really were not enough to bring anyone to madness or insanity like was clearly displayed in episode 6. It would much likely just make them kinda sad, maybe a little bit on the depressed side. But mad? I don't know. You guys be the judge. Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna go with a solid no, though. Episode 5. Bells are often used as a metaphor for death, a foreshadowing of grim things to come. But Dany must have been reading a little bit too much Edgar Allan Poe before her attacks on King's Landing, because it seems as though she took those ringing bells, those tolling bells, as a personal challenge to see how much carnage a single person can really sow. And if it was a challenge, I think it's safe to say that she set the new record. Congrats, Dany. We'll get that trophy in the mail right away. On a more serious note though, I actually really did like this episode. Even though Dany's actions didn't make a ton of sense, I really did enjoy how the episode drew parallels to episode 3, but was far more gruesome and gritty in its depiction of the carnage. In episode 3, we saw a brave soldier standing tall in the face of ice demons that promised them certain death. But at least the carnage was limited to soldiers, while women and children hid in the crypts. In episode 5, the situation was similarly hopeless. Just swap out ice demons for fire demons. The key difference, though, was that in episode 5, the demon carnage was caused by people, and death was distributed equally between innocent and enemy alike. The many-faced god had many offerings that day. Unfortunately, though, it was almost as if this episode was meant for a different rendition of Game of Thrones that we never got to see. One where Dany's descent to madness is properly fleshed out over a long period of time, and her decision is heartbreaking yet understandable, instead of confusing and weird. Past that one unfortunate yet pivotal decision, I thought the episode was otherwise solid, if not exceptional. The Ballistae were back to being ineffective, just as they always should have been, like in the episode prior. Clegane Bowl lived up to the hype, with Gregor absolutely trouncing the Hound, and Sandor sending them both crashing to a fiery end. Quite a fitting end, given that the flames were the impetus for the animosity between the two. And Dany's destruction of the city was brilliantly shot, exclusively showing us the perspective of the people on the ground, therefore immersing us in the chaos and the horror of the destruction. Had it been shot from Dany's perspective, or simply alluded to from Cersei's, I just don't think that we would have felt the emotion of the people blindly scrambling for their lives amongst the searing hot flames and the humongous chunks of rubble that were crashing down around them. Like I said before, this could have been an amazing episode, and maybe even the highlight of the entire show, if only the show managed to show us some sort of explanation for Dany's decision. Oh well. Episode 6. Episode 6. Why? Why did they do it? Why? Sorry guys, I just had to get that out. This ending was just so horrible. What the fuck even happened here? Writers, what were you thinking? Just why? Why'd they let Jon meet Tyrion when they knew Tyrion was a traitor and Jon was on the fence? Why would you let Jon meet with Dany alone after meeting with the traitor? Was no one on Dany's side thinking at all? I swear to God, Grey Worm must have had an aneurysm during the battle because the shit that he let go on was absolutely fucking mental. But, alright. The writers had to end it quickly, and they can't spend too much time on the planning and the execution of Dany's assassination. I get it. They need to wrap that plotline up and move on to the actual conclusion, so fuck it. Let's just talk about the conclusion that comes after Dany is tossed aside. But don't be fooled. That is not any better. First of all, Grey Worm and all of Dany's troops hold King's Landing, and what do? They invite the High Lords of Westeros to meet and to decide on what to do next because of reasons. Why would the Unsullied and the Dothraki, who have only ever taken an interest in raping and pillaging, even care about who sits on the Iron Throne? I can see why Grey Worm might want to see Dany's work finished, but I really have a tough time believing that he has the respect and the charisma necessary to convince the Dothraki of the same. They should be out pillaging the realm, not waiting inside a burnt-down city for their boats to come take them home. Just another cool plot point, sacrifice on the altar of expediency, I guess. And, with all the High Lords gathered in the Dragon Pit, Grey Worm trots out, who of all people but the traitor who convinced Dany's assassin to do the deed. He could have juiced the imp into liquid justice, but instead, the Lord of Light reached down to him and, through divine revelation, told him to keep Tyrion alive. So Grey Worm does it. He keeps Tyrion alive, but he refuses to let him speak with the High Lords, because that would be too much. That is, until Tyrion asks him nicely, and flashes those cute little puppy dog eyes. Anyone would have to relent when faced with that, including Grey Worm, and so Tyrion gives his little speech after Emir Tully embarrasses himself and says that Bran should be the king, because no one has a better story than Bran. After all, Bran went beyond the wall as a cripple, and he came back as the Three-Eyed Raven. And obviously, everyone knows what the Three-Eyed Raven is, and what that entails, and no one would prefer the story of a child who was born and raised as a bastard, who was sent to the Night's Watch, became the Lord Commander in less than 2 years' time, who traded with the Wildlings, became their leader, and united them with the Night's Watch, who was literally murdered by his own men and resurrected from the dead, who killed 2 White Walkers in hand-to-hand combat and spearheaded the assault against them so that the living might survive, and who was even later revealed to be the secret baby of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. And to top it all off, he had to kill the woman he loved because she betrayed him and burnt down the capital. No one would think that's a cooler story. No one would want to be led by that guy. No, they would much rather be led by the emotionless cripple who holds a dubious title that means nothing because they really don't know what it is. Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, in the canon of the show, everyone pretends that it does make sense. And to be fair, Bran is definitely one of the stronger candidates for king. Maybe the second strongest after Jon. Though I personally think he would be best as an advisor, maybe making him king is the best decision. I'm sure he'll have sound judgment and probably rule wisely. Wait, what's that? Bran Stark just acceded to the request of Sansa Stark that the North be giving its own independence? Preposterous. He would never. He knows the Iron Islands have been violently grasping for their freedom since Robert's Rebellion, and Dorne proudly wears the title of Unbroken on their sleeve. If anyone was to ask for freedom, they would demand the same, and that would ruin the realm. What you say? That's impossible. Huh? You mean it really happened? And everyone else is totally cool with it? And they just nodded along like a flock of chickens? Oh, it's season 8. Oh. Well, then, of course that makes sense. Everything that happens in Season 8 makes sense. The writers said so. Duh. Sorry for questioning you. And with that, the show comes to a close with, in my opinion, very satisfying conclusions for our main cast. Arya sails off to the great beyond. Sansa is crowned by her adoring subjects. Jon finds freedom and happiness in the north where he belongs. Tyrion continues to serve the people as the king's hand. Brienne records Jaime's achievements in the Book of Brothers, and Bran oversees the realm as a stoic big brother who's always watching. So yes, the last episode was pretty bad, but the final conclusion of it, in my opinion, was very satisfying. With that, my review is over. In terms of a numbers rating, I would say that relative to all TV, this season was probably something like a 7.5 out of 10. But, relative to the past Thrones season, it was probably kind of like a 4, just because of how terribly the main character's story arcs were completed. But enough about me. Let me know what you guys would rate the season in the comments. Also, be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching as always. Catch you later!